Hail, gracious goddess Isis, queen of the moon, queen of mystic vision. We invoke thee now. Hail, holy Isis. Hey TVs, it's Lord Ision. Well, we've been here today invoking the goddess Isis. She's the goddess of magic. She's the goddess of the silver-veiled moon. And in her we find psychic power and blessing to enter into the mysteries. Well, today we're going to talk about one of my favorite mystical, magical tools. It's called the crystal ball. That's right. The crystal ball, it's famous throughout the world. Many people see it in television and movies. You know, they always show gypsies and fortune tellers gazing into their crystal ball. And sometimes people write to me and say, PsychicBob, is that real? Do psychics and witches and gypsies really use crystal balls? And the answer is, yes, they do. And the other question is that really real? Can stuff happen with that? And the answer is absolutely yes. So hang with us and learn about the crystal ball. Behold my mystical crystal ball. This is one of my treasured magical pieces. And we're going to talk about this today. So just to give you kind of a quick tour, this is a crystal ball. Now mine is actually made of leaded glass, so it's not quartz crystal. And it's very hard to find quartz crystal, at least large ones these days. But this one is leaded glass, which works just as well in my opinion. But somebody's going to say, well, Bob, do you have a crystal ball that big? That's a massive crystal ball. Well, let's take a look at that, shall we? The truth of the matter is that your crystal ball can be really any size that you like it. Now, down here today, I'm showing my black, this is a black crystal ball. We're going to do a whole separate video about the black crystal, but I put this out here just today for a size comparison. This ball is what is known as an 80 millimeter. Most of the crystal balls are done in millimeters. I don't know why, because we live in America where we use inches, but they're defined in millimeters. So this is what we call an 80 millimeter ball. Now I love this size of crystal ball because it's small enough that you can hold in your hand. Some people like to hold their crystal. You can hold it in your hand, or in this case it comes with a little stand to sit it on. But this is the 80 millimeter size. I'm quite a fan of this size because I find that the crystals of this size have a clarity and a brilliance, which makes them really nice to work with. And they're so lightweight. I mean, they're heavy definitely, but they're lighter weight than the larger ones, that it's easier to travel with them. This next one is a 110 millimeter ball. So you can see the difference. That's 80 millimeter and that's 110. And like the other one, it's just set in a stand and you can take it out of the stand and look at it. Now this crystal ball, I have to tell you the history behind this one. This was the very first crystal I ever owned. I bought this in Georgetown, in Washington, D.C., in Georgetown, over 25 years ago. And I just love it. So it sits in its own little stand there. Then we have the giant ball. This one, I believe, I forget the price, or forget the measurement. I think it's 180 millimeter. It's either 180 or maybe 200. I don't think it's quite 200. It's a little less than 200. But as you can see, we have a gradation. 80 millimeter, 110, and 180. And this is my big one. In terms of size, to give you a sense, this is about the size of a volleyball. If you've ever played volleyball, it's not as big as a basketball, and it's just a tiny bit smaller than a soccer ball or a football. So it's about a volleyball size. This one is so heavy I can hardly lift it. I can't even slide across the table. It's so heavy. The big balls like this are beautiful. They're great for gazing because they give you a field of depth, and you can go into them. But the downside is you can't really easily travel with these because they're so heavy. This ball is over probably about 40 pounds. It's literally, I can't even move it. And if it falls on your foot, you're going to crush your foot. But anyway, so there you can see. So does size matter? Well, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Now, let me tell you the difference, why you might want to explore different sizes. As I said, this size, I find that the crystals that are the 80 millimeter are actually lightweight, easy to use, and they carry a brilliance. I just ordered a clear one of this. It hasn't arrived yet. But I just like this size. I find it easy to focus on. I also enjoy my 110 millimeter, which is nice. Of course, though, it is quite a bit heavier. And with crystal balls, it's amazing how just a few different sizes up, the weight change is significant. So this is rather heavy as well. This probably weighs about 8 pounds. So it's pretty heavy. This is actually about the weight of a bowling ball, honestly. Whatever a bowling ball weighs. A little less, but it's pretty heavy. It's not as big as a bowling ball, but it's definitely heavy. And then the big one is, of course, so heavy. The problem is, I find, now this is my experience, the larger ball you get, the harder it is sometimes to get the right lighting setup to gaze into it. The larger balls tend to capture the reflection of all the lighting around them, and sometimes that's a distraction, whereas the smaller balls, you can kind of zoom in on them and get the light out so that you can focus without too much glare or reflection. So, there are pluses and minuses to each of these. Now, to get ready to scry, there are a few things that you want to consider when working with the crystal ball. First of all, of course, as I said, find a crystal ball that speaks to you. It doesn't have to be a large one, it can be a small one, as long as you enjoy it, okay? And then the next thing is, when you're doing scrying with crystal, the lighting has to be set just right. Now, I like to use candlelight. This is just me. You can use electric lights too. But the secret is you want to remove the candle, so don't have it sitting right in front of the ball because you said it's casting the reflection. Most people that work with it move it a little back to the side, a little, so it's more diffused light. What you'll find is, as you can see here, as I diffuse it, it actually makes the crystal ball kind of illuminate from within. And that kind of creates almost like a television screen effect. Do you see how that soft glow? Now notice as I move the candles away how it changes. Okay? So the movement of the candles affect, you see if you put it right in front there, it's just kind of dulling it down. Whereas if you move it back just a little bit, you get a soft luminosity in the crystal. And you want to spend some time playing with the lighting, because once you get the right lighting, it makes it much easier to do crystal gazing. By the way, I forgot to tell you, that is the traditional phrase. They call this, when you work with a crystal ball, they call it crystal gazing. It's also known as scrying, which we've talked about before here. Scrying means to use a reflective object to induce a trance to go in to get visions. And that's what you do with the crystal ball. But it is a different effect than the black water scrying or the black mirror. And I encourage you to try all of them. We'll do other videos on those other methods soon, but a lot of you have been asking about the crystal ball, so that's why we're doing that. So once you have your lighting set, if you have a brand new crystal, you may want to kind of, we call it charge it or magnetize it. And there are a few ways to do it. One, you want to start with, you want to purify it first, because if it's come from a shop where people have handled, you want to wash it off. So I recommend using any old glass cleaner, to clean it with, or you can use rubbing alcohol, but clean the glass thoroughly. All right, and then to further purify it, you want to use some incense. So I circle the ball with incense, because I create kind of a smoke cloud around. That smoke is purifying. I would recommend frankincense incense for at least the initial use. After that, you can use any incense you want. And then I like to also trace a pentacle over it. And I usually do an invocation like this. Here this pentacle I lay for blessing and protection by night by day. Let us see what we will see. As I will, so mote it be. If you do that, you're going to start to charge that crystal and open the door. Now, again, as I said, I would recommend that you have some incense burning when you first use your crystal, because it helps to raise the vibration in the room. And you got to remember that, like any magical work, and scrying is a magical work, you want to raise the energy, purify the space, raise the energy. Now, some psychics, what they want to do to attune to their crystals, they'll pass their hand over it. Do you remember Karate Kid, wax on and wax off? Well, that's similar. You want to do motions like that with your left hand and then your right hand. and just get a feel. You'll start to feel energy build up around it. And that will just further attune you to your crystal. Now, many occult books say that, when you're first working your crystal, or once you consecrate your crystal, nobody else should lay hands on it or touch it. And I'm a believer in that. My teacher at the Spiritualist Church, who also taught me to work with crystals, she told me the same thing. So I think there's truth in that, because it's a sacred tool. You don't want everybody's vibrations on it. It's got to be a clean vessel to do the work. Now, when you do crystal gazing, you want to just have a very casual, very relaxed attitude. Don't get all stressed out or strained. The secret to scrying is just let the energy open. You might do a brief invocation. Spirit of the crystal, grant us now your sight. Let us see within your presence all that needs to be seen. So mote it be. Just a little invocation like that can do wonders. And if you feel like you need to raise power again, you can circle your hands around the crystal. Wax on, wax off. And just a word of advice, when you're circling the crystal to kind of increase the energy, don't touch the crystal, because then you'll smudge it up and you'll have to go clean it again. So you don't have to actually touch it, just have your hands floating near it. I'm not actually touching it, I'm just above it. And the power will still transfer to there. So you just want to relax into the crystal gazing process. Just let it come. Now, some people report actually seeing smoke form in the crystal ball. I myself had this experience the very first time I scryed, and I got to tell you, I hadn't read any books on crystal scrying and was really quite shocked at the experience, because I was sitting in my room and I had a crystal ball. It was actually a little smaller than this one. Actually, I think it was this one, actually, my original one. And literally it filled with smoke. And I kept thinking, am I seeing that? And I was in dim candlelight. And then the smoke literally came out of the crystal and floated above it. And then it poured like liquid smoke, like cold ice, dry ice smoke, down the table and ran across the floor. I got to tell you, I was shocked. I ran out of the room. I was so terrified. I didn't know that was going to happen. And I called my psychic teacher right away, and she says, "Oh, that's normal. You shouldn't have left the room. You would have had a vision shortly thereafter." Well, that night I didn't get a vision, but I tell you, I was freaked out seeing the smoke. If you start to see smoke form in your crystal, know that that is a normal part of the process, and it won't hurt you. The smoke may even come out of the crystal and float around the room. That's quite natural. But if you stay with it, then you'll start to see images within. The smoke might turn different colors, red, blue, green. It can be any color. And just sit with it and see if the colors have a resonance or a meaning for you. Now, sometimes you'll have still images, and sometimes it'll be like movies. So you never know if something will appear in your crystal. Oh, what do we see? What is that? It's a king on a throne, a king of wands. Oh, how mystical. Okay, that wasn't real. That was a special effect. But sometimes things that dramatic do happen when you're crystal gazing. So if you have an image appear, just relax, breathe, keep breathing, and just let it unfold. Don't try to force your will on the image. Don't try to get scared. Just let it happen, and I think you'll be amazed at what happens. Now, there are a lot of different ways to use the crystal. For example, you can use it to look into the past. Just ask for the spirit world to send you an historical scene, and they may put a bit of the Akashic records through your crystal, and you'll be able to see like the ancient, pyramids or the people of Atlantis. Just relax and ask, All they can do is say no, and you might get an amazing experience. You can also use the crystal to look into the present. If you have a friend that you haven't heard from and you're worried about them and you can't reach them, you've tried calling, don't know where they are, ask the crystal to enlighten you, and you might see a scene of them at a location, and when you check it out, you'll find out, oh my gosh, I saw that correctly. You can also use it to commune with other worlds. Why not use your crystal as like a telepathic communicator to travel to Mars and to connect with the Martians, the people of space, the star brethren. You can also use it to glimpse future events, ask about events, and see if they reveal themselves through the crystal. So whatever way you use it, it has a lot of magical and powerful uses. And as you can see here, I've dimmed the lights and just have the candle light going. And this creates a nice, soft, sort of luminescent, gentle glow in the crystal. Lighting is very important in this process, and you may have to adjust the candles and lighting and move around a little bit to get just the right look that you feel comfortable with. But I tell you, it's worth the effort. I'm a big believer in the crystal. Now, you can also use the crystal for magical work. So, for example, if you're casting a spell, and let's say you're by yourself and you want to send out a cone of power, and you need a lot of power, but you just are by yourself, you could visualize in the crystal the forming of the cone of power and let the crystal magnify and serve as a doorway to launch the cone of power. So that's just one way you can use it in magic spells. I've also seen people do tarot spells where they lay out tarot cards around the crystal, and they use the crystal also as a portal to project the tarot card energy out into the universe. So there's another way you can use it in magic. The use of the crystal ball is practically unlimited. It can serve as a portal to other worlds. It can serve as a reflection of the consciousness of the higher self. It can serve as a healing mechanism. Yes, you can use your crystal to send healing to people. As I said, think about things that you would like to do with your crystal. You're not really limited. It's really kind of discover what you can do with it. Another way to use the crystal is to communicate with the spirit world. You can ask it to serve as a portal, a doorway to the spirit world. But make sure if you do that, that you open it and then you close it. Now, if you want to close your crystal portal after you've done some magic or some scrying, then all you do again is invoke the power of the pentagram. And you can use your hand, or if you have a wand, you can use that as well. But I'm going to use my hand here. Here this pentacle I lay, for blessing and protection by night by day. We have seen what we will see. Close this portal now, so mote it be. And if you do that with the right intention and focus, your crystal portal will be closed. I recommend you open and close the portal each time you use it. Now, many people during the day like to put a veil over their crystal, and I don't think that's a bad idea. It will protect it because they are glass, it can get scratched. And also, if you have harsh sunlight, it could cast a light ray through it and burn a hole in the table. So I recommend covering your crystal with a cloth as well. And any cloth can do. It's traditional to use black or dark blue or purple. I happen to have a purple cloth here. And we can just veil our crystal after the portal's closed and extinguish our candles. And our portal is secure until another day. Oh, guys, I probably should have mentioned earlier also that it's traditional among many witches, and especially if you're into herbalism and the green craft, that when you first get a crystal or whenever you feel it needs cleansing, the old traditional way is to make a tea of mugwort. Get mugwort or herb, steep it in hot water, and then take that water to clean the ball. It's believed that mugwort is a divinatory herb that will increase the power of the crystal. Some people have allergic reactions to touching mugwort, so if you're one of those people, you don't have to do that. But I just thought I'd bring it up as a point of reference for those of you who say, well, wait, Bob, didn't I hear something about mugwort? Yes, mugwort is the traditional cleansing and consecrating fluid for the crystal ball. It's called a fluid condenser or a concoction to strengthen the energy of the ball, to align it with those herbal energies for psychic vision. But, I'm kind of modernized. I sometimes just use glass cleaner or rubbing alcohol to clean my crystal ball. So there you go. Well, guys, I've had such a great time here with you today, and I hope this has introduced you a little bit to the crystal ball. It's not a complex process. It's just one that takes time. You have to work with it and set your intention, practice opening and closing the portal. And I think you'll start to have some amazing experiences with the crystal ball. Well, listen, tell me in the box below, have you ever worked with a crystal ball? Or do you have a crystal ball? Tell me below. I want to hear about it. Also, after your comments, make sure to give me thumbs up, like this video, favorite it, share with your friends, and hit subscribe. We'd love you to be part of our channel. So we'll be back here tomorrow and Thursday for Vlog Thursday. Don't miss it. Thank you guys. I love you. Make sure to go over to my website, PsychicBob.com, and register for my psychic development class. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for Vlog Thursday. PsychicBob loves you guys, and we're out of here.